Right. Hi, my name is Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is a game of The Between by Jason Cordova. This is our third session. It was originally just going to be a two-shot, but we all had a good time and decided to come back and continue. We also have a fourth player named Blake who is not with us today, but will be back for future sessions. This is a game about monster hunters in Victorian England. It does have some adult themes, so if you think that might be uncomfortable for you when you're watching or listening to this, the no doubt massive audience for my actual play streams, you might want to tune out for this one. The session was organised through the Gauntlet gaming calendar, and the Gauntlet is an online community that organises plays and talks about a whole lot of indie role-playing games. If you are interested in finding out more about the Gauntlet or coming and playing a game with us, check out gauntlet-rpg.com. I think that's my intro spiel, so I will ask you all to introduce yourselves. Let's just go the order that you're on the character keeper. So both yourself and your character, names and pronouns and anything else that you want to tell us about yourselves. Gabe, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm Gabe. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing the American, Jim Fletcher, who also uses he, him pronouns.
Cool. Joel.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joel. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing the factotum. Reeves uses she, her pronouns. She is in the employ of Dr. Malik El-Kabir.
Excellent. And Jamie.
Hi, so my name is Jamie. I use they, he pronouns. I'm playing the Mother playbook. Malik Al-Kabir uses he, him pronouns, who is very grateful for the strength and grace that the other hunters provide, but I'm here to bring the brains, so don't worry, I have that covered.
Excellent.
All kinds of brains, metaphorical and literal, I think.
Amazing. So I just wanted to mention before we get started, we have already talked about safety tools, but if you want to just reacquaint yourselves with what the lines and veils that we agreed on were, that's in the safety tab on the keeper. If there's anything you'd like to change, add, update, anything like that, please feel free. The other safety tools that we're using today are the X card. I know that everyone knows how that works, and the open door. And we're playing under the Gauntlet Community Code of Conduct. Is there anything that anyone wants to say or ask about safety stuff? I think we're all pretty cool with that. All right. We're going to pick up right where we finished off last time. So we're just heading into the dawn phase after you successfully quieted the St. James Street ghost. You have been invited to a ball at Theodora Braithwaite's house, or her mansion, her manor. Somewhat mysterious figure 3 nights from now. So that's on the horizon. But as we start the dawn phase, the first thing that happens in the dawn phase is you collect rewards if a threat was resolved. So you did resolve a threat, and if you click on over to the threats tab in the keeper and scroll, I think, all the way down to the bottom of the St. James Street ghost column, you should find a list of rewards. So they are sort of individual. So 2 people can't take a jar of ectoplasm, for example. The memento from the investigation that's unspecified. All of you can have that if you want. But let's just go this time right to left across the character keeper. Doctor, what reward do you want to collect from the St. James Street ghost?
Let's see. Oh, such a pity that it's a ghost and I can't add anything to the child from it. But let's see. These are also good. This is such a fun part of the game. Am I misremembering that someone marked the cosmic passage already?
Yeah, that's Blake.
Yeah, so I'll leave that for Blake. Yeah, in case Blake wants it. So I'm going to get a mirror that always shows a reflection. If people are okay with that, unless someone really wanted it. Okay, cool.
All right, Ms. Reeves, what will you be taking?
I think I will take the jar of ectoplasm.
Amazing.
Miss Reeves kind of thinks like Dr. Al-Kabir could use this and like puts it in her bag.
You are so good at this.
Yeah.
I was thinking I would like that as well. So excellent. Such a wonderful service.
Amazing.
All right. And what will Jim keep?
I will take a memento, and so I would like Dr. Malik to tell me what it is.
Let's see. I'm going to say after we went back to the house, it turned out that there was a single pocket watch that was also frozen in time, like all the other clocks.
Nice.
Great.
All right. So the next thing we do in the dawn phase is to answer your dawn questions. So these are for XP rewards. XP. Go ahead and just check the questions. I'm happy for you just to quietly answer those yourselves. If there's any way you think there's ambiguity, then you're welcome to shout them out to the group.
What was the unseen last time? It was the dinner party. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Yeah. So I'm acknowledging that I marked an echo in the night, whatever it was 3 weeks ago, but I don't remember why I marked it, so I'm just trusting myself.
I'll take that.
Yeah, because what is considered an echo in the night in this game? Is it like something specific?
Yeah, so an echo in the night is when you call back to something from the unseen, when you like reference an image or theme or something like that from the unseen.
Okay.
Because our unseen was so long ago, it's probably going to be pretty tough until we get to another one for anyone to do that again.
I think that's what I did. Yeah.
So I got an advancement, and I am taking the fastest gun in the West.
That sounds awesome. Tell us about the fastest gun in the West.
Nice.
When you take this move, add the 1851 Colt Navy revolver to your personal quarters. This item is never marked when using it to take advantage on a die roll. After a die roll, you can choose to mark it in order to re-roll one die of your choice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So I'll be flashing a gun around London constantly.
Some beautiful specificity there. Not just any gun. The 1851, I didn't get the rest.
Yeah, 1851 Colt Navy revolver is very specific from Jason.
Yeah, nice. All right. So, did anyone else get an advance?
I did. I'm just trying to figure out. The moves are so good, so I'm trying to pick one.
Mm-hmm. Same problem. I think I'm going to. Let's see. Oh, wow. Interesting.
All right. Take a few minutes because I should copy some details over into the new threat column.
Sure.
Think I've decided on mine. I'll go with memory is the servant. During the dawn phase, you may tell the keeper you are claiming a memento, which can be any object from a scene in the recently concluded night phase you would have reasonably been able to acquire. If you keep the memento, add it to your personal quarters. If you give the memento to another hunter, mark XP and tell them to add it to their personal quarters. I just steal stuff from our jobs that we're on.
Amazing. Well, we're in the dawn phase now, so if you just want to like trigger that move straight away, what did Reeves pick up apart from the ectoplasm?
Too bad there wasn't a dead body. She would absolutely take an organ for Alkavir.
I appreciate you so much.
Gotta be a dutiful factotum. I'm trying to remember.
Could sort of make up anything that would reasonably in the house, right?
That is true. Yeah. I think she took. I remember there was like wax dolls up in the kids' room. So I think she has a wax doll. Yeah, and if anything, like that looks ominously familiar or similar to the American, like maybe it's kind of a kitschy like doll that they have where it's like, oh look, this is such an American doll, and it's very stereotypically like fringed leather jacket, cowboy hat, like oversized belt, and Reeves just kind of like leaves it in Jim Fletcher's room with just a note with like no response saying like, reminded me of you.
Nice.
I'm gonna mark XP for that, and you can add that to your personal quarters.
I love that.
And then, Doctor, what will you be adding to what move will you be taking, or what advance will you be taking?
It was very difficult to choose between the moves, but I decided to get the Resurrectionists. So a gang of grave robbers, led by a man called Harley White, dingy workman's clothes, cracked teeth, smells of grave dirt, is loyal to you. Each Dusk Phase, I get to choose from 4 options. Mm-hmm. So that's super exciting. They could like dig up something for me, or they could find valuables. When I say dig up something
for you, I wonder
something,
what that could be.
Something. And they can also assist me during the night phase. Or the last option is you'll face no blowback or complications from any criminal activities the grave robbers get up to that night. So that's always a good one.
Amazing. All right, so the next thing to do for the Dawn phase is to change any Dawn questions that you want for the next Dawn phase. So just take a second, make any changes that you'd like. And then the next thing is to resolve any playbook or custom moves that are resolved during the Dawn phase. So we just did Miss Reeves's. I don't think anyone else had a Dawn phase move. Does anyone have anything else that they do in the Dawn phase?
Yeah, for mine just got marked, but it assumed that I asked the Resurrectionist to do something at dusk. So I don't think that applies until next time.
Cool. All right, and the last thing for the Dawn phase is to resolve any Janice Ask prompts that are still unresolved. I don't think we have any of those hanging out. I assume that we would have finished them up before the end of the last session. So that means that we are heading into the day phase, and I will present a new threat. So what will happen? The threat we're introducing today is called the Limehouse Lurker. Jenny Johnston, the proprietor of an opium den in Limehouse, tells you a story that has not yet reached Scotland Yard or the papers. 3 people have been found dead in recent days, the bodies completely drained of blood. The first was a sex worker called Soft Jimmy, found in a dark corner of the opium den. The second was a young mother, Charla Bell, found in an alleyway behind the Limehouse School. And the third was a Chinese sailor, Zhao Dong-ai, found outside a pub near the Regent's Canal Dock, the Dog and Whistle. Jenny's sort of an informal community leader in Limehouse, and she has been keeping the bodies in her basement. Jenny doesn't notice the doctor's eyes light up at this revelation. She's hesitant to go to the authorities, because she fears it will cause trouble for the small but thriving Chinese immigrant community in the district. She's heard that Hargrave House has experience with matters such as this and has asked for your help. Now, Dr. Malik, Hargrave House knows about creatures that drink the blood of their victims. They're called vampires. A detail in Jenny's story convinces you that this particular vampire has the body of a small child. What is it that convinces you?
Yeah, I believe that. I know that vampires don't always just take one bite in order to take what they want from a body. They have to start from somewhere to like stun the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And what they tell me is that the bites start at around the waist, and I'm like thinking, that's awfully
Interesting.
down low, perhaps where a child can reach easily.
That is
I would think.
fascinating. So the vampire is physically a child, but of course that doesn't mean it's young. Vampires never physically age beyond how old they were when they were turned. And an old vampire has to be handled in a very different way from a young one. So just to introduce the questions and opportunities that we're looking at here, this mystery has a threshold question, so you must answer this question first. That is the vampire young or old? That has a complexity of 4. And then the other questions will be different ways to resolve the threat depending on whether it is a young or an old vampire. So, do you have questions for Jenny? Do you just want to get out onto the streets? I'm not sure if anyone needs to.
I'll turn
vulnerable
to
move, or
yeah. I'll turn to Jim, and I'll be like, Jim, I'll allow you to handle this. Like I say as I like flicker my eyes towards her, like you're very good with a certain type of person, while I take a look at the bodies in repose and check if everything is in order.
All right, then. I was just double checking. I've lost my... Oh, never mind. I found my conditions. Okay. Sure. Is it Jenny, as in Jennifer? Like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have nothing to ask her right now. Someone else.
All right. But are you interested in a scene where you talk to her, or is there something else that you want to do?
Yeah, I'm not quite there.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to you. Ms. Reeves, will you be traveling with Dr. Malik?
Yeah, I think there's like, as we're kind of walking away from Jim and Jenny, starting to head downstairs, there's like that silent eye conversation of like, it's too dangerous to like take a body part here. And I'm sure Malik's like, no, I want it. And, Reeves is just kind of like resigned, and it's all done like non-verbally, just kind of like eye communication stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, oh God, I'm terrible at my history. How would we have gotten here? Would we have a vehicle, or would it be a horse-drawn?
I mean, I think I have no idea what the historical answer is, but I think clearly the fictional answer is that you take a horse-drawn carriage.
Okay. Yeah, I think Miss Reeves like goes out to the carriage and like puts away the investigating bag and pulls out the like body part extracting bag and like, puts it over her shoulder.
Nice. So you arrive at the opium den after a short trip. It's dim and smoky. There's kind of ammonia-like smell. Lots of people lounging on the cushions. And you see that people from all walks of life patronize Jenny Johnston's. Dr. Malik, what do you see that indicates this? The sort of cross-class scene?
I think what indicates that is... Oh, that's so interesting. It'll have to be... There's this weird way that people don't group up, or because usually in these opium dens, like people like go off on their own to like do their own thing, but But here, strangely enough, people gather in groups to enjoy the opium together. And I noticed, like, even if they have completely different clear symbols of status from different places, they're all hanging out together in a way that you would never see outside, like in Victorian London.
Yeah, that's cool. And Ms. Reeves, what do you see that shows you that people from all walks of life come here?
I think Miss Reeves sees like the small detail, but their fingernails and stuff. Like she sees people with like very soft hands, kind of like passing around the opium pipes, grabbed by people with very like calloused working hands and that sort of thing, with like dirt under the nails.
Yeah. So I understand that you're like heading right down into the basement to look at the bodies, but I do just want to mention one patron here that stands out to you on your way by. There's a man in a gold smoking jacket and yellow silk pants with very soft slippers on his feet. If you can see his nails from where you are, they are very finely kept, a remarkable quality to the manicure. And he is wearing a sun-shaped half mask that obscures his face. Nobody else here is masked, so it is quite striking.
Is it covering the upper half or like the...
Good question. I just straight up imagined the Phantom of the Opera mask in the shape of the sun or in the color of the sun. If you have a different idea, I'm happy for you to tell us a bit more about the mask.
I kind of like the idea that it's a half as if it's a sun rising, right, and then the lower half of the face, because I'm innately a queer mess. I just want to make it easy for someone in case they want to kiss the NPC, right? So
I see. Yeah, certainly his full lips are on complete display. But the two of you head down into the basement. I think that, you know, some of the staff may have anticipated you coming. Jenny Johnston had told them what was up, so nobody will stop you. In the basement, you indeed see 3 bodies. Even at a glance, you can see that they are indeed fully drained of blood. What do you do?
I think.
I mean, Doctor, I'm sorry. I'm tempted to ask how useful a body that's been completely drained of blood is to you. Like, is the tissue still going to be viable?
Yeah, exactly. I think I turn to Miss Reeves and I say, well, we'll have to make do with what we have here. Still, there are many specimens to choose from between the 3, but I suppose we'll have to take a look at the feet. Those are always the hardest to drain completely of blood. Perhaps it's still viable.
Oh, nice. That is disgusting. Can you remind
all
me?
My CSI marathons. I used to be so obsessed with CSI.
Do you have is there a playbook move for extracting body parts? Do I recall?
So I assume I can just do it if I want to, but I do have a move called Beneath the Skin. When you examine a corpse, you may ask the keeper 2 of the following.
Yeah. Well, should we start there then?
Yeah. When you examine a corpse, there doesn't seem to be a role. I think the role is if it's easy for me to get the body or not later. I think that's what. Okay.
Yeah, you just get to ask these.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so my first question is, let's see. I think this is like one of those Sherlock Holmes moments where it focuses on Malik's eye, and then Malik looks across the body and starts to do this quick, very thorough checks across the 3 bodies. So what would an untrained eye overlook here? The keeper will answer with a clue.
Okay. So I will answer that, but I just want to check, Miss Reeves, is there anything that you're doing while this is going on?
I think, like, initially Miss Reeves is putting out the tools for Malik and kind of like very nicely pulling out like a clean cloth to like lay all the tools on for him and like arranging it all nicely. And then once that's done, probably like looking through the deceased like personal effects if they're kept nearby here in like a bag or even on the person, kind of looking through their belongings.
Sure. So, Doctor, what an untrained eye would overlook here that you quickly notice is that these bodies were obviously brought here, after death, but for some reason there are very fine, light blood stains on the cots that they've been laid out on, and it doesn't really make anatomical sense that they would have continued to bleed after being so drained of blood and so long after their death. So your clue is dried blood stains beneath the corpses. Unusual, yeah, however you want to mark that down. And I'll come back to this scene so you can think some more about what other beneath the skin question you want to ask. But Jim Fletcher, how are things going for you back with Jenny?
Yeah, so I'm gonna because we're back at Hargrave House, correct? That's the idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to frame a scene somewhere else, we can do that. But sure.
No, this is good. So I'll kind of bring her in, make her a very mediocre cup of tea by English standards. Maybe the water's not hot enough, something like that. And kind of sit her down and just be, this seems really, quite terrifying. You got 3 bodies. Sounds like people from your community kind of drained completely of blood. It's the chat is perfect.
Sorry.
No, it's good. And got Reeves being disappointed in Jim Fletcher's head now. But I just want to let you know that we're going to take care of this. This is what we do. We're good at this. And I just want to know, is there anything, other than being drained of blood, was there anything unusual? Were there any items nearby? Were they found in strange places where you don't normally see these folks? Anything else you can kind of tell us about this situation?
Yeah, so she'll start out by telling you that there were, the places the bodies were found, like they were places that you would have expected to find these people. There was nothing strange about that. But go ahead and roll the information move, and we'll see if she can tell you something more useful.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to comfort her and kind of show confidence. So, I'd like presence, but if you think it's something else.
No, I think presence is right.
All right. So 2d6 plus 2. I did not get the plus 2 in there. So 8. No. Yeah, 8. So 10.
Oh, nice. So on a hit, you find a clue. Okay. Let's see. What will she tell you about the strange thing that she noticed about the bodies? Yeah. So I think that she'll tell you a couple of things. She'll tell you that you should maybe talk to Rory Bell. He was the one that found... who did he find? Sorry. He was the one who found Zhao's body outside the pub. He might be able to tell you some more. But what she knows, what she can tell you, is that there were, very strangely, all of the bodies were found surrounded by copious amounts of flowers, lilies, just piled up all around the bodies.
All 3 bodies.
All 3 bodies. What do you make of that with your obvious experience?
Well, flowers are sometimes symbols of things, though I'm not entirely sure what these, you may have different symbols. In the States, we would think that lilies are sometimes used in death, and so if there's a grand funeral, so this may be someone marking that death. I mean, I remember at my grandfather's funeral, they had so many white lilies. They just put them everywhere, all the way through the house.
That sounds very beautiful.
It was something.
Right. Is there anything else that you want to ask Jenny?
I'm gonna stick with that and try to catch up to my companions.
All right. So let's pop back to the basement of the opium den then. Doctor, did you want to ask one of your other questions?
Absolutely, I'm ready.
Right.
I was born ready. So can I take a body part for the child without anyone noticing?
I mean, yes and no. Nobody's going to see you do it, but people will notice that the body part is missing.
Oh, maybe if I take a very subtle body part. I'm going to say, what if I take hair? That's pretty subtle. I could get between the three bodies. It might not be too noticeable.
Is there one of them that would look good with a shaved head?
It didn't say scalp with hair. It just said hair. So I'm just going to point that out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe nobody will notice if some of the hair from these bodies goes missing.
I'm willing to compromise. I can get the feet next time.
Great. I mean, I guess the hair doesn't require so much blood either.
Yeah. Exactly. According to CSI, they're all dead skin cells. So, But yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I acquired the hair for the child, and I think I don't try to hide it from Miss Reeves, of course. I think you see me, but there's like a surprising amount of gentleness when Malik does it. Like sort of like smooths back the hair, make sure that it's actually like he doesn't just hack away at it, right? Like he makes sure everything is in order and treats the body as well.
Nice. Is there anything else that you want to do here in the basement? Either of you?
Was there like personal effects on their body?
Surely there is a place where the personal effects have been set aside. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Miss Reeves would go through that and kind of look through like any clues on where they may have been or like what they were doing when they died, like I don't know, entry cards to places, things like that.
So that sounds like the information move with reason, maybe?
Yeah. How good is my reason? That's not bad. So that is an 8.
All right. So a clue with a complication. So you will you find something that stands out to you as noteworthy amongst the personal effects, and you can't really tell what might have belonged exactly to who here, or which crime scene these things might have come from. But there is a reasonably high quality copy of the Bible. And what stands out to you about it is that the pages about Noah and the ark have been ripped out. Yeah. However, as you notice this, the complication is that you hear footsteps starting to come down the stairs towards you.
Okay.
You still have the opportunity now if you want to put a mask on, if you want to bump that up to just an outright success.
That's true. Yeah. May as well use them if you got them.
So before you decide, I just want to mention, I should have said this before, each threat comes with its own mask that can only be used in conjunction with that threat. This threat has just an amazing one, I think. The Mask of the Sun. So this is in the threats column on the Keeper. But the Mask of the Sun is each hunter narrates a dream they once had of a primordial earth back in time across the ancient seas, back in time when the spirits walked, when the sun was new and the old gods held court. So you obviously don't need to use that one now, but that is available while you're investigating this threat.
Yeah. Oh god, that one has to get used at some point. I don't know if it's like impressive enough to use for making sure someone doesn't come down the stairs, but
Mhm.
next time I'm going to use that one. Yeah, I'll use a mask. I'll figure out which one I'm using. And if anything, like Reeves hears someone about to come down the stairs and kind of first things of like making sure Malik doesn't get seen, because she knows what's going on. She can hear and can like see out of the corner of her eye. So maybe like shuts the door to the room that they're in
Mhm.
and like holds it shut enough where whoever comes down the stairs just kind of walks by.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was going to be a problem for you, but I think if you're using the mask, we might just say that it's Jim Fletcher arriving.
Oh, perfect.
So I'd like to do one thing as I arrive
Oh,
in the
please.
opium den, if that's
Yeah.
good. I like that though. So as I come in, I think I have enough awareness to know that an opium den is not like a place where you're loud in public, and so I'm going to be loud in public in the opium den. And kind of whoever the person at the door, whether they're sort of a guardian or a doorkeeper or a welcoming person, kind of whatever their role is, I'm gonna just loud enough that the other people in the area can hear. Not so loud that I'm yelling, but kind of unnecessarily loud. I'm here. I know my colleagues are here already, but I'm looking for a Rory Bell. Trying to see if anyone pricks up.
Yeah. So the poor young woman at the door will respond to you in a hushed tone and a gesture that indicates like that she wants you to bring your voice down. She says, "Discretion is very important to our customers here. We would very much prefer you not to use people's full names while you're enjoying our hospitality."
Oh, I apologize. I'm tip my hat, and then again, kind of whispering too loudly. So is he here?
Yeah. So I mean, people are definitely looking around. They're looking for you. She maybe like turns to somebody else that she works with. She sort of has this whispered conversation with them. Occasionally, both of them sort of glaring at you. And finally, she turns back to you and says, "There is no Rory Bell here. I understand that he is a stevedore at the docks. That is probably where you'll find him."
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I'll make my way loudly to my
course.
colleagues.
So you arrive in the basement a few moments later. You all, exchange information about the things that you've found or learned already. And then what will you do?
It seems like the only concrete lead we have right now is to go find this Rory Bell at the docks. But if folks have other ideas, that works.
I mean, I guess from my point of view, it's like the crime scenes or the places the bodies were found are also places that you might want to go and look for clues.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I think Malik says, well, logically, it makes the most sense that there are 3 bodies, there are 3 scenes of crimes to investigate. But even though Malik says that, there's a hint of like he doesn't want to go alone to one of them, right? Like his eyes keep darting towards Miss Reeves, and but he says, "So I do believe that is the best course of action. That we each choose a body and investigate this. What happened to this poor person."
So again, just to remind you, the first body was found here in the opium den, the second one in an alleyway behind the Limehouse School, and the third behind a pub in the docks. Do any of you have opium as your vice?
Oh, it's
maybe
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that just earlier. Too bad, right?
That might explain why Helen is not with us today. Her opium den and has just collapsed into a stupor.
She's got a little distracted.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind nosing my way through the pub if that works for folks.
Oh, I wish I could say I was surprised, Jim, but I understand.
Wow.
And Miss Reeves, if you could perhaps take a look at the school.
Of course, Doctor.
And I will stay here in the opium den and see what information I can find.
All right. Great. So I guess we'll start with the opium den. So, Dr. Malik, what will you do once to investigate here?
Yeah, I kind of feel like as it's one of those scenes where the camera keeps moving and like you see like Malik walking around, but there's that mysterious stranger with the sun mask. What is up with that? I think I'm just going to study them and see what they're up to. Like I'm like just studying them for now and see what I can pick up if there's like something that they move towards or
he is absolutely not moving. He is reclined on some cushions. He's been enjoying his pipe, you think probably for some time. He will he will make eye contact with you when he sees that you're watching, and you start to hear your own heartbeat as his eyes lock with yours. Maybe that's just subjective, just seems a bit odd. Do you want to approach him, or you just want to keep watching? What's Dr. Malik's plan?
I think I think Malik is like can't help but be drawn towards this mysterious stranger and defies all logic to step closer and just outright introduce himself. But this is Malik, so it's not incredibly charming, right? So Malik just says, hello. Good. It's morning, right? Yeah, that's right. Because I say, good morning. My name is Dr. Malik Al-Kabir. I'm very pleased to make your acquaintance. And like a ...
Well, he chuckles lightly and he says, I'm sure you are, but the traditional mode of address when one meets a member of the royal family is Your Highness.
I see. I stand corrected, Your Highness. I say as I pointedly, like, I can't even hide the look on my face of like, royalty here with other people?
While he is hiding his identity. Yeah.
True, no.
What? I don't see many visitors here observing as sharply as I see that you are. Are you here to indulge?
I'm here to, well, I have already indulged. I say as I sort of like I tap my breast pocket where I hid the hair for the child. And I say, but how about you, Your Highness? Is there something that you need that you can't find in this place?
Well, there is always more than one can find in this place, in this world, is there not? A curious and cryptic little vice you have there in your pocket, I'm sure.
Well, doctor I may be, but I can't give away all my secrets just yet. I suppose, Your Highness, I would like to know if you knew about the poor soul that was found here in the opium den.
Right. Go ahead and roll the information move. I think with presence, or tell me if you want something.
Yeah, I was trying to aim for something else, but I was drawn in. Rolling with my presence. Okay, so all right, 2d6. I forgot to put in my name. Okay.
Oh.
I'm gonna go ahead and narrate. I'm definitely gonna put on a mask, but please go ahead and narrate.
All right. So there is an awful commotion from the door as the police burst into the opium den, led by a broad-shouldered constable in a neatly pressed uniform, with many other bobbies chasing him into the building. He's calling out, "Everybody, stay where you are. You're all under arrest." And you can see that some of the officers are already beating some of the patrons who are, just lying there, unresisting. Let's come back to you. I understand that you may well want to put a mask on, but we'll pick that up. Reeves, Miss Reeves, you were heading to the Limehouse School, is that right?
Yeah. So I think she had found out the body was found in the alley behind the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think she'll go there first.
Okay. And is there anything you want to do on the way, or what are you going to do once you arrive in the alley?
I think once she's in the alley, she's just kind of standing around awkwardly for a little bit, trying to think okay, what would Dr. Al-Kabir look for? And then in her mind's calling him Malik, what would Malik be looking for? And I think cinematically it's like a crappy version of Malik's CSI moment, where for him it zoomed on his eye all cool. For her it kind of wobbles up to her eye and she's awkwardly looking around. And we'll probably try and see if she can find any signs of blood or maybe any lilies that Jim Fletcher had talked about.
Yeah.
And see if that leads anywhere.
Yeah, so I definitely think you see a few scattered lilies lying around, and let's go ahead and roll. I imagine that's information move with reason. Does that sound right?
Yeah, sounds good to me. An 11.
So you think you catch the smell of blood before you see it, and sort of follow it around. A little distracted because you can hear these kids playing in their recess, just across the fence nearby. But the smell becomes overwhelming, and you find yourself drawn to a crack in the pavement or in the cobblestones. And when you examine it more closely, you see, even though this seems impossible, that it seems to open on a massive subterranean space that is filled with blood. Some sort of enormous cavern that could not possibly exist beneath the street.
Okay.
And the smell sort of rises up and overwhelms you as you look closely at it. You reel a little, and then sort of come back to yourself, listening to the sounds of the school children chanting and singing in their playground, such as it is.
Yeah. And I think when she remembers Malik saying the vampire is probably the size of a child and stuff, Miss Reeves gets real paranoid about the school children and tries to look as nonchalant as possible, we didn't just find the giant reservoir of blood. And oh god, she's gonna have to talk to the children. I think that's what she does. She just kind of gets up, brushes off her knees, tries and looks around nonchalantly, and then starts to make her way towards the school children to see if there's any that look particularly nosy.
Fantastic. So we'll come back to Ms. Reeves, but I want to pick up with Jim Fletcher. You were heading to, what's the name of the pub? The Dog and Whistle. So again, you know that Zhao was found just outside the pub. Do you want to start by looking inside? Do you want to start by examining the place where his body was found? What are you going to do?
I'm gonna start with people. So I'm gonna kind of in the opposite mode actually enter quite quietly, as subtle as the American with a large hat and large coat can be. But try to see, like, is there a game of dice or a game of cards that I can join?
Surely there is.
Perfect. I will prefer cards if that's an option. And, kind of chat with folks, nurse a beer very gradually, lose hands, like fold some good hands for a while, let other folks kind of win some money. And all the time kind of looking out for this Rory Bell character.
Okay. Are you like asking for him or just trying to guess what he might look like, or how are you approaching that?
Yeah, I mean, they said he was a stevedore, so I'm going to assume, if this is a weekday, he's probably have to wait till he gets off work anyway. Yeah. So trying to get the lay of the land. And I think for now, until he shows up, basically just eavesdropping and seeing if anyone kind of talks about this death that happened. It's kind of listening for chatter, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you'll definitely get some of that, over a few hours, especially if you it won't take too much pushing. Even Jim Fletcher can probably manage that subtlety. And one of the guys you're playing cards with, a sailor named Lin Bohai, when, as the subject of death or the macabre or murder comes up, gets a sad look on his face and tells you that, yes, his friend Zhao Dong'ai just died recently. Pretty terrible.
I'm real sorry to hear that. That's let me buy you a beer. And I will proceed to then try to connect with him by telling him the story of this gun that I have, this 6-shooter promise never to fire, which actually is already marked, so I won't get advantage here. But I will share that, back when I was living in the States, my grandfather, he passed. We had a big funeral for him. He was a real important guy in the community, and they had a big funeral. They had all these lilies around, just tons and tons of lilies all the way through his house. And that's the day actually where, my dad, he said in the will that he was going to give me this 6-shooter, and it was my grandfather's gun. And so it's real important to me. I keep it with me all the time. I actually never fire it at all. But and I'm hoping that, like, triggering the lilies will also sort of get him to open up more about his friend's death and kind of sharing the memory. So I'm hoping to use tall tales to get him to reveal a clue.
Sure. Well, go ahead and roll with presence.
All right. 7. So that is...
Yeah, so that's good, because the complication is going to be that you mark the condition, let's say tipsy for now.
Okay.
And what will he tell you by way of a clue? Yeah. He, like, his sadness overcomes him a little bit. He starts to cry. He tries to compose himself. He apologizes, all of that. He says that, he never used to drink so much, but his friend died, his ship sails in a week. He really wants to know what happened before that. And now this strange voice keeps telling me I drink too much, like a child in the shadows. And he looks around as if there's going to be someone there. But that is your clue.
I'm assuming I see no one there when he looks around.
You don't see anyone. And he clearly doesn't see anyone either. A small childlike voice from the shadows criticizing excessive drinking is the clue.
Oof. With that, I'll actually like push my beer away, pay my tab, and wander my way outside to investigate outside.
All right. Well, let's take our first break here, and we'll come back and follow up some of those investigations at 10 past the hour. Great. All right. Are we ready to keep going? All right. So, Dr. Malik, as we left you, there was a policeman with his billy club raised rushing toward you. Did you want to put on a mask?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that this looks in this high budget streaming prestige series is that there's a moment where like a hand passes over Malik's face and a mask shows up. And then I'm going to mark, let's see, the mask of the past. Narrate a flashback to the first time you experienced love for the person you lost. And I think the way this looks is that Malik and his love, yeah, I think they were at a party where the police showed up to like shake things down, right? And so there was a moment where exactly like this one where someone was rushing at me and he just threw himself in front of me to protect me. And I think in that moment, standing behind him, seeing how much he was willing to risk himself for me, piece of shit that I am, it made me absolutely fall in love with him.
Beautiful. So that will bring you to a 7 to 9 on your move, so you'll get a clue with a complication. And I think that the man in the sun mask looks at you a bit cryptically and says, "You were in another world just for a second there, weren't you? I wonder what you saw on the other side."
And I think there's a moment where Malik stops and like he can't control the expression of sadness on his face. And he says, "Yes, very sad world that I don't like to visit very often, but perhaps you can bring me back into this one, Your Highness."
So I'm going to offer you a choice here for your complication. I want you to mark a condition, but you can choose whether the condition is disturbed, or on the other hand, you can choose that the condition is strangely drawn to the man in the sun mask.
Oh, Shane, do you have to ask which one?
I would never like force that on a player, but I obviously had a suspicion.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down.
Right. So the man in the sun mask starts to tell you about other worlds. He says that there are worlds beyond this one. There's a world like our own, but impossibly ancient, where the sun is new and where old spirits and old gods play and make war with each other. I have seen it with my own eyes. It's magnificent and terrible and bloody and every other awful, wonderful thing you can imagine. And then he very abruptly yells, "Shut up!" into the shadows in the corner. And you don't see who or what it is that he's addressing. He kind of comes back to himself. He apologizes to you for his outburst. He says, "I keep hearing this strange little child's voice telling me to lay off the pipe. I don't know what's going on. There's usually such a fine establishment." But your clue is the small childlike voice castigating from the shadows for excessive opium use.
Yes, and when he says that, I say, "How unfortunate. We'll have to speak to the management and see what they can do about these children that shouldn't be here," I say. And I privately think the only child that's worth anything is the one I make, obviously. Real children.
Is an infant vampire a real child?
Yeah. Malik is not thinking clearly. um, but yeah, so I say, Your Highness, I suspect that I must be on my way and attend to my own business, but is there a chance that we'll meet again in the future?
I'm sure there is. You often find me here, and perhaps other places. Who can say what may be? But I don't think
Well,
this is the last time we'll see each other.
I'll definitely be looking forward to that, Your Highness. So, if I may take your leave.
Of course, of course. And he offers you his hand to kiss the back of his hand before you leave.
I'll be a little naughty and like turn the hand a little bit to like kiss the underside of the wrist. Not completely appropriate.
Doctor. All right. Ms. Reeves, you have turned the corner to potentially talk to some of the students. There's quite a small outside area at the back of this school. It's not a wealthy school. The kids are crammed into that outdoor space during their break. You see a fidgety older man in a three-piece brown suit who is obviously their schoolmaster, who is, kind of stretched thin, trying to keep track of what all the kids are doing, making sure nobody's doing anything too out of control. And many, many children, uniformly filthy, yelling at each other, running, playing strange games. What do you do?
I think Miss Reeves will try and get rid of the headmaster and maybe like motion for him and tell him, sir, I don't want to intrude, but I think I saw some children sneak into the building. I hope there's nothing they could get up to in there.
I just want to look at how the day move triggers and whether this would be appropriate. Let's have a look. When you do something risky or face something you fear. Does this strike you as something risky? I think he'll just do it. I think he just,
Okay.
not again, rushes back inside the building. So this is, this is nominally a school, but is in fact a workhouse. The kids will be back inside soon, back to their labours. And this is where poor children are sent to be managed until they're old enough to be turned out. What signs of deprivation do you see as you look around?
I think a lot of the children's clothes are, very like worn down, overly repaired, patched over and over again. Some of them like their big toes sticking out of their shoes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like the toys that they're using are not actual toys, just like sticks and, rocks and stuff like that.
Yeah. And some sort of a bell rings and various children start heading back inside, sighing, looking unhappy. But certainly quite a lot of them, looking at you curiously.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I think I'm going to try and get the attention of like whatever kids I notice that look overly perceptive. Like maybe if I notice them while I was in the alleyway kind of looking at what I was doing and stuff like that, and kind of crouch down and try and like beckon them over.
Oh yeah. So there's definitely there's something about the way this one girl looks, something about her eyes. And she, both seems perceptive and seems like not afraid to talk to you, not bothered by your presence, and straight over when you beckon her. Says, and she asks just straight out, "Who are you, and what are you doing here?"
I'm just a friend, I'm not like your stuffy headmaster. I was actually hoping that you could help me. I'm on very important business.
What sort of business?
And then Miss Reeves will kind of like lean in and whisper, like, dangerous business. So you can't tell anyone. And she'll, fully ham up the whole, like, trying to get a kid to, confide in them and be like, it's very dangerous business. So you have to, keep it quiet. But have you seen any other kids around here who maybe didn't go to your school? Any kids with like a lot of lilies in the area? And she'll hold out like one of the lilies that she took from the ground for the little girl to take.
Nice. So she takes it, sort of tucks it incongruously behind her ear. It's just obviously out of place against her filthy, unwashed hair and dirty skin and ragged clothes. But go ahead and roll the information move with presence, I guess.
And can I'm going to use from my personal quarters. I have too many cat ornaments. I don't know why she does, but Miss Reeves has like a cat ornament on her and kind of like holds it up as like, if you answer my questions and stuff, this could be yours, and tries to entice the kid with a cat ornament.
She seems somewhat interested in the cat ornament, so you can mark that to roll with advantage.
Perfect. We have a cat child. That is a 10. Oh god. My other one was a 2, so it's a good thing I did that.
Nice.
So let's see. A clue. And sorry, can you remind me, like, what was it specifically you were asking her about? Other children that she might have seen nearby, things like that.
Yeah, because like Miss Reeves knows there was a bunch of lilies found around the bodies, so maybe any kids carrying like bundles of lilies, or any kind of kids in the area that didn't go to the school acting a little weird.
So she definitely didn't see anything like that. Oh my god, something has just gone really wrong with the formatting on this PDF. Sorry. What is happening?
Like the program itself is changing?
Sorry, I just hit the wrong thing and suddenly made it like giant size, so I couldn't read any of the text. It's okay. She doesn't know anything like that, but she quickly says, "You're here about that woman who got killed, aren't you?"
And Miss Reeves will kind of say, like, maybe, but that's a secret. And she'll kind of like tap her nose like between us.
Well, I don't know anything about strange girls, but I know that she was a mean lady, especially to old people. You would see her out in the street outside. She went by here all the time. She would always have a harsh word to say for that nice old lady across the street, for an elderly gentleman just trying to make his way.
Oh, what kind of stuff would she say to the elderly gentleman?
Just calling them useless, calling them old and ugly. She said some bad words that I don't like to repeat.
And Mr. Reeves will kind of like overly gasp and be like, "No, you shouldn't repeat those bad words." You said it was that gentleman over there, and she'll kind of like point to the house that she thinks he might be at.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And so mechanically, the clue that you get is the stories of a victim behaving unkindly toward the elderly. And are you finished speaking to the girl, or do you want to ask her anything else?
Not that I can think of. I think Miss Reeves is done talking to the girl, so she'll like thank her and say, try and ham it up like, you may have just saved all of London tonight. And then we'll, tell the kid to like run along and be safe, and then kind of like stop the kid and overly seriously say like, be safe, and then just like walk away.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll come back to you checking in with the elderly gentleman if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
But Jim Fletcher, you were going to head out to the alleyway behind the Dog and Whistle.
Yeah, I'll kind of stand up and kind of stretch my way out there after many hours of cards, it seems, and kind of just poke around, see if maybe there was any signs of like a scuffle, if there was kind of like before we've looked, any objects maybe dropped here and there. I'll also if there's like debris in the alleyway, or if there's like empty, I don't know if they had kegs, but empty kegs or barrels, I'll try to just move a bunch of stuff out of the way too, like really go for it. Okay.
Well, go ahead and roll the information move, I guess. Reason.
Okay. Do you think my tipsiness is hurting me here?
Yeah, that's probably right.
I feel like it's a kind of casual. I'm just going to look around. So that's that is still an 8. Okay. I'm taking the worst 2.
So I think that you don't really find anything in particular in the alleyway. I think that I'll give you the second condition of drunk on top of tipsy.
Great.
Maybe you threw down that last beer before you came out here a little too fast.
Sounds reasonable.
As you look, a thick swarm of bats flies overhead. That is a clue, or you could treat that as a clue.
Okay.
And a moment later, after the bats have passed, you notice that there's somebody in the alleyway with you. It's a woman who you saw previously inside the pub. She has unkempt grey hair. Back inside, she had a blanket pulled tight around her, and she kept complaining about the cold. Like, even you could tell that, from across the pub. But she's thrown off the blanket. She seems to be enjoying the sunlight. I think she says something to you like, isn't the sunlight beautiful today? And it does strike you that the sun is like extra warm, almost throbbing as you stand in this alley.
Yeah, I will definitely make my way over to her, maybe a little bit stumbly at this point. Well, howdy, ma'am. Give her a hat tip. It is mighty nice out here. Even reminds me a little bit of home. This London sun doesn't usually cut all the way through the clouds. You seem mighty chilly inside. You feeling a little better?
Feeling wonderful out here. Yeah. What brought you to London, young man?
Oh, well, I just wanted to see the world a little bit, see something new. I like new things. But heard some rumors here and there about some deaths, some suspicious deaths, people dying from strange ways. I apologize. My name is Jim Fletcher. Good to meet you, man.
She sort of looks at you appraisingly, and she gives her name as Elma Thorpe. Says, what? You hear about that sailor that died, huh?
I did. Some of the fellows I was playing cards with. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
I know they found his body right there, and she points at the ground. And do you want to roll the information move to see if she can tell you anything useful?
Am I being sufficiently charming to use presence?
Sure.
But I am drunk, so I'll give myself disadvantage there. So
Uh,
2
7.
plus 2 is 4, so it's a 6.
Ooh.
Um,
Right. So she is about to tell you something more useful, more interesting. When she gets a strange expression on her face, and she seems to grow taller almost, but then you realize she's not growing taller. She's floating up into the air and screams in pain as blood bursts from her torso and 2 tiny little hands reach out from inside her. So we'll come back to you in the alley with Elma.
yes. Yeah, I got a mask ready. But
Doctor, you were leaving the opium den, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to go back to Hargrave. Sorry, is it Hargrave Manor? I keep forgetting that.
Hargrave House.
House, there you go. Manor, of course, I would think that. Hargrave House. I think I'm going to go to my secret womb, my laboratory, and I'm going to, from what I found so far, I'm going to like study what's going on with the different bodies, and I think like actually I'm gonna like draw out books on. I know they didn't call it psychology back then. Something like books from an alienist.
Yeah.
To try to understand, right, what's going on. Like, I think like what Malik is trying to do is like, are they hearing voices, or is this something that can't be explained, right? Like,
well, do you want to try rolling the information move with reason, just to like, see
exactly.
what you can work out?
Yeah, exactly. Is exactly what I was angling for. So fantastic. Yeah. So let's see. Just double checking reason. Going to the. Where did my dice roller go? What the heck?
Do you want the link again?
Oh no, there it is. Sorry. Found it. Lots of tabs. Okay. Ooh, a 12.
That's nice. So that will get you a mastermind clue as well as a regular type clue.
Yeah. Ooh, could I also, sorry, I just want to inject a little bit. Like as I'm going through the books, I think we see Malik once in a while explaining what he's found to quotation mark no one there, but once again the camera pans around him and you see like in his mind is the child that's forming.
Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, so what do you find in your books? Yeah.
We could say like another book mysteriously drops onto the ground and I pick it up, right? If it'd be easier to.
I think that, yeah. So I mean, I think that you find, like, you don't find exactly what you're looking for, but there's a theme that keeps coming up in the books that you find as you look for references to, things that connect exsanguination on the one hand and strange voices from the shadows in the other. You quickly sort of move on from the more serious alienist literature into the realms of parapsychology and the occult. But even in the more scientific literature, there's an image that recurs in this connection. You don't quite know. Sometimes it's described as a symbol. Sometimes it's described literally. Sometimes, a metaphor for a scientific experiment. But it's the image of a passageway or other thoroughfare that's been made unreachable by the sun. This is just something that keeps coming up.
Fascinating.
And can I ask? Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I imagine like there's one image where it's been sketched out, sort of like by someone from an institution, right? And so, like Malik, like places a hand on the page and whispers to the child, "Why is there always a place that is unreachable for each of us?"
Does the child reply?
I think the child opens their mouth to speak to me, but I can't hear what they're saying. And I know it's my failing because I haven't done enough to bring them to
Vocal
life
cords
yet.
will be next on the list. All right. So, Ms. Reeves, you excuse yourself from the schoolyard. You head off across the street. You knock on the door, I guess. Or will you knock on the door, or do you want to sneak in, or what are you going to do?
I think she'll definitely make like a wide berth around that blood cavern, and then go up and probably knock on the door. Try and be upfront as possible.
So there'll be a sort of. Sorry, I just kicked my. There's a slow sort of shuffling as this gentleman inside comes to the door. You hear him put the chain on before he opens it, and then he sort of cracks it, and you can see this older man, stooped a little, maybe late 60s, in his 70s maybe, peering out at you, and he says, "Yes, what is it?"
And Miss Reeves will kind of go from the like conspirational that she was with the kid to like the picture of like polite professionalism, and just say, "Good evening, sir. My name is Mrs. Reeves with Hargrave House. I was hoping to speak with you for a moment."
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're aware there was an unfortunate event that happened in the alleyway recently.
He looks blank, but he says, "Yes."
We have reports from verifiable sources that you may have known the person that had passed away recently. And I'll like give him their name. But I do not remember.
Yeah, her name was Charla, I think. Charla Bell. No. Keep to myself mostly. Wouldn't know anything about a murder.
Really, people had said this Charla Bell was particularly rude to older folks in the area.
Oh, her! Oh, yes. She died, did she? Oh, well, I can't say I'm too unhappy about that. Oh, you'll think me terrible, I'm sorry.
Oh, not at all, sir.
She had a sharp tongue.
And do you remember the last time that you experienced her sharp tongue?
Why don't you go ahead and roll the information move to see whether he tells you something useful.
Okay. Probably presence, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. 10.
Nice.
Yes.
What will he remember?
And I think like as he's thinking, she'll kind of just try and coax stuff out of him. Like, did she say anything to you recently? Do you remember seeing anyone when you looked out to shake your fist at her?
Yeah. Well, yes, I do remember something. She called me. I don't know. I'm trying to think what like the appropriate Victorian insult would be. She called. I won't tell you what she called me, but it was very strange. She was in the alleyway over there. And he gestures back to the alley where her body was found. He says, I remember when I turned back to shake my fist, I saw that someone had painted a mural there. The sons of another world. But I see they've painted over it again now. It's gone.
Oh, yes, it would appear they have painted over it. You had never seen who painted that mural? It was just there one day?
Just noticed it there that one time.
Well, it's a good thing that graffiti was covered up. And I can't think of anything else to ask them. So she'll just kind of like be very polite and say, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry that I interrupted your peaceful evening.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll bid him adieu.
All right. So Jim Fletcher, you said that you were considering a mask.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to mark my next Mask of the Past, which is a flashback to your young adulthood that shows the incident that made you start to resent, even despise your parents. And what was her name again? I will say that Ms. Elma Thorpe here reminds me considerably of the woman who was my caretaker when I was a youth in my large East Coast United States manor house. And there was a point at which I was returning from my prestigious boarding school, and I encountered a scene in which my parents were firing her, and they were accusing her of kind of having stolen knickknacks throughout the house, and she flatly denied it, but they fired her anyway, and I was furious with them. And so as I kind of this what I will chalk up to as a intoxicated hallucination jogs that memory for me.
Nice. So so that brings you up to what, a clue with a complication.
Correct. So the clue will be that she starts to tell you that things keep going missing in groups of 3. Zhao complained about this before he died. He used to drink in here all the time. He kept talking about 3s. 3 missing cigarettes. 3 missing dice. 3 missing halfpenny coins. All kinds of 3s. The strangest thing. Okay.
And as a complication, what do you notice that you have lost 3 of?
Oof. 3 of. Trying to think if there's anything that could reasonably be 3. How do you want to do this mechanically? Like, do you want me to lose 3 things from my?
Oh no, like just narratively.
Oh,
just
okay.
fiction.
I will say that somewhere in my, I may have been drinking more than I thought while playing cards, and I've actually lost 3 whole pounds, not just a few coins, in the process.
All right. So I know that you had wanted to meet up with Rory here, but at this point, the group has accumulated like a pretty large number of clues.
No, I was thinking at this point, in order to hopefully sober up, I would walk my way back to Hargrave House from the docks.
Is everyone happy if we have you reassemble at Hargrave House and go into the Dusk Phase?
Yep.
So, Dusk Phase. Resolve any playbook moves or custom moves that are resolved during the Dusk Phase.
Yeah, I need to keep myself in check.
Go ahead.
So I'll go ahead and try to roll with composure here. So what is it again? Yeah, it's just a roll with composure, and we'll see what happens.
All right.
A 12.
Nice. What do you get on a 12?
I stay strong. On a 12 plus, your heightened sense of hearing and smell will help you uncover an additional clue that no other hunter would be able to detect. during the dawn phase, tell the keeper what the clue is. So I don't get it for a little while.
But you still, and because it's a 10 plus, you roll with advantage when taking actions that use Vitality until the next dawn phase. Dr. Malik, you have a Dusk Phase move as well?
I do. And I believe there's at the back door, there's like a heavy, like rapid knock. And I know that means Harley White has shown up to represent the resurrectionists. And I say, yes, Mr. White, still unable to manage to bathe, I see. Nevertheless, I do have my orders for you.
Who would he be without the smell of grave dirt hanging in the air around him?
Ever since I got the move, I've been thinking, what does grave dirt smell like? Right? It's such a like normal dirt, right? But yeah, and I'm going to, I mean, how can I not? Ask him, the grave robbers would dig up corpses that night during the dawn phase, acquire a body part for the child. And because I keep thinking about how my poor child can't speak, and I have to rectify that matter as quickly as possible. And the second one I'm going to choose... Just a meta question. Do we still have time to answer the questions and go after the threat tonight, or is it more likely it's going to happen at the next night phase?
That is a great question. So I think that you're going to have to try and, well, if you want, you can use the night phase to answer questions and then try and resolve the threat in the same night phase. It's probably pretty likely that you won't get it resolved in this night phase and that you might have to carry it over to next time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we can sort of answer the question whenever, right? It's about when we solve it for the second, like, because the first one doesn't have there's no trigger for a thing we have to do.
Right, it's a prerequisite.
Yeah.
So in that case, I'll face no blowback or complications from any criminal activities the grave robbers get up to tonight. And I'm going to say, I'm going to give like a small flask of alcohol, and I'll be like, for you and the rest. Now, try not to have too much fun. And I'm going to say that in the alcohol, I sneaked in something that'll help calm the nerves and soothe them, right? So that they don't get too rowdy as they go up digging bodies for me.
Nice. All right. And Ms. Reeves, do you have any Dusk Phase moves?
I do. I have the Ghost of Hargrave House. So during the Dusk Phase, you can remove a marked item from another hunter's personal quarters and add it to your own, unmarked. When you return the item to its original owner in the middle of a scene you are sharing with them, describe how it is slightly altered, and then they get it back. So I think like as Miss Reeves is kind of like cleaning up after people, kind of doing her nightly rounds, probably sweeping up after Harley White leaves, kind of like sweeping up the grave dirt that he just tracks everywhere, that she's kind of like scuffing to herself. She finds the fake ID from Jim Fletcher kind of like on the ground, like it fell out of his waist pocket. And so she'll pick it up, and I think it's altered kind of to reflect almost like it was the fake ID of the like kind of lie that he's been telling. So it's a fake ID of someone who's, from like the Appalachians and very outdoorsy, almost like the over the top version of who his persona is. So I have that in my personal quarters now.
Nice. So the next thing that happens in the Dusk Phase is that I pose a paint the scene question about Hargrave House that you all answer. So today we're going to talk about the map room. This room is littered with maps of the city, of England, of the world, and some of them are highly unusual. I'm going to ask you each to name one and describe why it's so strange. And again, just left to right across the keeper. So Jim Fletcher, do you want to tell us first about a strange map?
Yeah, can you see there's like a middle part there that I missed?
Oh, yeah.
I was making a note of the ID.
Mm-hmm. The room is littered with maps of the city, of England, and of the world, and some of them are highly unusual. Name one and describe why it's so strange.
Got it. I will say that there is a map of sort of ancient kind of sites of ancient civilization through the American Southwest. And the map itself is unusual because instead of ink, it is actually all made with gold filigree.
Oh, nice. Ms. Reeves?
I think there is a map. It's probably one that Helena has always like looked at frequently, but it's a map of England, and then it kind of has the it's like a normal map of England that you'd buy anywhere, and then ley lines of England that are kind of like crisscrossing are stitched in like a dark purple thread, kind of running across the country.
Amazing. And Doctor, what strange map do you notice?
Right. There is a map that details where every notable, certifiably authentic psychic has died in London, and it forms like a shape of an eye.
Oh my God, that's amazing. All right. So the next step in the Dusk Phase is that each of you says what your hunter will be doing during the upcoming night phase. I imagine that the first thing will be answering questions. I'm not really sure if any of you have other stuff you want to get done. Maybe some people need to trigger the vulnerable move, but let's go left to right again. Doctor, what will you be doing during the night phase?
Yeah, I feel like I need to. I think I notice when Jim shows up drunk as a skunk. An American skunk, no less. Are there skunks in England? I don't know. Anyway, and so yeah, I think I want to spend time with Jim just to make sure he's all right. Not that I really care, obviously. It's just to make sure we stay focused.
Sure. Ms. Reeves, what about you?
I think I did notice on the child's requirements, blood is an option, and Miss Reeves now knows where there's a large reservoir of blood. I think she might be trying to go like above and beyond in her services.
Oh my Lord, that is amazing. And Jim Fletcher, what about you?
I definitely need to sober up a bit, so I will accept Malik's invitation, because the idea of engaging in my vice while intoxicated sounds like a really bad idea. So yeah,
whereas normally it's a great idea.
Normally it's a great idea, but I think answering a question or two, maybe while loosened up mentally, and then enjoying cigarettes with Dr. Malik sounds like a good idea.
All right. So the next step in the Dusk Phase is to resolve any Janus Mask prompts that remain unresolved. Ms. Reeves, I think early in the session you like decided to mark a mask but hadn't chosen one yet. Is that right?
Yeah. I had chosen to mark Mask of the Past. So it was narrate a flashback to the event that eventually forced you into servitude. I think if anything, before we all kind of get together, maybe Miss Reeves is like sitting in one of the kind of smaller studies that people don't use often with like a record player going, and it's playing like a ballet song, and she's kind of getting lost in her memory. I think we just established that she was like a very promising, ballet artist, and so she's kind of remembering back to one of the times where she was performing a dance that was about. It was like a big ballet performance about basically like a master and their employee, like completely mirroring Malik and Reeves' relationship, except she was the dancer of the master role, and so was like in the limelight. Everyone was paying attention to her, and there were other people kind of like dancing around her. And right as she's about to do like the most complicated move, she just kind of twists, and you hear the sickening crunch, and that's kind of when Reeves like jolts out of her memory and just like takes a decent swig of her brandy and turns off the record player.
Amazing. All right. Well, we are finishing the Dusk Phase here. Actually, I introduced the unseen as the last step in the Dusk Phase, so let's do that. So, Doctor, I do have it in my notes to give you the mastermind clue, but I haven't delivered yet, but it will come. So I'll introduce the unseen, and then we'll take a break, and when we come back, I'll ask some questions about that to introduce the night phase. The Empire Club is situated in a grand townhouse just off St. James's Square. Membership is popular among young aristocratic sons of lower birth order, many of whom have travelled to or profit from holdings abroad. Select invitations have been granted to those of less esteemed breeding who have managed to make their mark, and a small fortune, overseas. It boasts card games until the early hours of the morning, cooks from the four corners of the world, and plentiful bedrooms from those far from home or avoiding their family. Tall tales and business deals alike are shared over brandy and cigars. So we'll come back and find out some more about the Empire Club and answer some questions and so forth. So yeah, come back 10 minutes past the hour. All right, are we all good to keep going?
Yep.
Sweet. So the Empire Club, grand and horrifying space of privilege. We're going to start the night phase with paint the scene questions. So addressing this to all of you, I'll get an answer from all of you. Beyond the wood-panelled walls and leather armchairs, what signs of masculinity and power are on display here? Let's start with Jim Fletcher.
I will say there is a collection of cricket bats in positions of honor from various members of the club, and each one is nicknamed something horrifyingly sexual.
Amazing. Ms. Reeves, same question. Signs of masculinity and power.
I think like just anything devoid of affection. Like there's no signs with pleasantries or whatever. There's no let's see, I'm trying to think how that would work out. Like everyone just kind of behaves very like boastful and doesn't share their feelings and stuff. And like the servers, are kind of instructed to be very quiet and, better to be seen and not heard and stuff like that. Everyone's kind of trying to like one up each other with their stories and whatnot, and aren't really caring to listen to the other people.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And Doctor, what signs of masculinity and power will you describe?
I believe that in the form of entertainment, especially that of the sensual nature, just to oh no, the chat killed me. I can't say it out loud. But so I believe that all of the attendants is what they're called are all men, and they're like what an epitome of a man is, and I want to stress like they're all different sizes, right? And different types of people, but they're supposed to, in a sense, like embody what the idea of masculine set of figures is supposed to be, right?
Cool. And so just again, a reminder that if you want to mark your XP for Echoes of the Night, you're wanting to like reincorporate elements of these narration, like specific visuals, specific themes, but not in the sense of like connecting it to the thread or something. Like the thread isn't going to turn up at the Empire Club. We're not working on that level. We're just like reusing images and ideas. So what I understand from what you've told me about what you want to do in the night phase is that Ms. Reeves is heading off to try and score some blood, and the Doctor and Jim are going to smoke together first of all and try and, I think the Doctor's trying to sober Jim up a little bit, and let's see how that goes. Sorry, where's my reference sheet? So the vulnerable move. When you have an intimate moment with another hunter while one of you is engaged in your vice, you may clear an appropriate condition, and if it's your vice, you can also. So do you want to describe the intimate moment? What happens?
Yeah. Do you have an idea, Jim?
Well, I'm gonna kind of as soon as you suggest cigarettes and sobering up, I'm gonna offer that the way I usually like to sober up is walking. So how about we take these cigarettes on a walk through the city?
Oh, physical exertion. Crude, but commendable. Very well.
Well, just gets the blood pumping.
Yes, and then the moment you say that, there's a moment where like Malik's voice wavers. Yes, indeed. Well, shall we? And Malik looks around. Where did Miss Reeves get to? Right, just trying to look for her. I'm
sure she's busy with something. She's always cleaning up or dusting or things like that.
Cut to Miss Reeves traveling through the night, right? And then cut back. I'm sure that she's attending to something unbearably important if she chose to not be at my side. So very well, we shall commence. Let me just get my cigarettes.
So you head out around the city. You both light up. What's intimate about the scene?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think when you ask for a cigarette, I instead open the case and I place a cigarette in your mouth and light it for you.
Nice.
And this is a Victorian thing. I allow a bit of my wrist to show.
All right. So you can each clear an appropriate condition. And Doctor, you have a choice to either stumble on a clue or invite the other hunter to ask you about your past.
Ooh. Oh, this is always such a hard choice with this game.
You guys are just drowning in clues at this point.
That's true.
Don't really think there's any reason to.
That's true. I shouldn't power game too much. So I'm absolutely terrible. You should see me with. Oh, Shane has seen me with belonging outside belonging. I'm terrible. So with that, I'm going to invite the other hunter to ask you about your past. You must answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely.
Great. So as we're kind of walking, jeez. As we're kind of walking through the city, right? It's pretty late at night. I will notice. I'll pick up on Malik's maybe lesser desire to do physical activities, and I'm feeling particularly energized on account of managing my curse well. And Doctor, I know you spend most of your time buried in books and looking at bodies and that sort of thing. What do you do to just cut loose, or do you ever, do you have more physical hobbies, physical pursuits?
And I think Malik stops for a moment and says, "Well, when I was younger, my father, who is much like you, Mr. Fletcher, um, perhaps lacking in certain departments of etiquette, but certainly someone who is quite physically strong. Father did insist that I learn archery. And so I unfortunately had to give up the habit, as anything that could strain upon my hands and cost me my career is something I can no longer partake in. But I did enjoy it when I was younger."
Well, maybe when we get an opportunity, you can bring some of that skill to bear with a little bit of shooting, a little less strenuous on your arms, perhaps.
I'm sure you can teach me how to, Mr. Fletcher. Avoid strenuous activity.
Indeed, your Miss Reeves took to it kindly.
Oh, she did now, did she?
All right, and that will cut to Ms. Reeves staring at the dark alley where she previously saw a huge lake of blood beneath the street. What does Miss Reeves do?
I think, let's see, do I have anything in my personal quarters that could help me?
Any large shovels?
Yeah. I think she kind of came with some gear. She probably wore her more form-fitting black dress. Maybe has a black scarf to as she's about to start the act, kind of puts it up over her face to try and hide from people. And probably has she probably stole some of Malik's medical equipment for pumping fluids out of things. And so I was kind of trying to stand there in the middle, looking around, making sure no one sees her, to pump blood out of the reservoir and fill up as much of a bag as possible.
Siphon it out. So I imagine that you'll have to suck the blood up through the tubing first of all to get it to start to flow.
Okay.
I think that this is going to be the night move. When you do something risky or face something you fear, I feel that pumping blood out of the blood reservoir after dark is both of those things. But firstly, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve.
Reeves is afraid that the vampire or whatever put this blood reservoir here is gonna either come back or has been watching the area. So she is kind of paying special attention to the school to see if there's any creepy kids hiding behind the fence and looking behind her shoulder and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that you occasionally see a flicker of light, and you're just not quite sure if that was an eye, an eye in the darkness, or just just a trick of the light. I have to tell you how it's worse than you fear. I think it's worse than you fear because the vampire is not here. The vampire is in fact stalking the doctor and might attack while you're otherwise occupied. You can choose to back down or go through with it. If you go through with it, roll with an appropriate ability.
Okay.
I think composure is probably right, but you tell me if there's something else that you think works.
No, I think I was kind of thinking composure too, like
Yeah.
keeping a steady hand and stuff. Yeah, let's see. That is a 7.
All right.
And I think I will narrate a flashback.
You don't want a complication with the blood reservoir.
Yeah, like as she is like sucking up the blood, that's the last point where I want like a mistake to happen. Yeah, I will do the, if everyone's okay with it, the mask flashback from the investigation that we have.
The Mask of the Sun.
Yeah.
I love this popping up just as you inhale blood that's mysteriously collected beneath the street.
Mhm.
So yeah, each hunter narrates a dream they once had of a primordial earth back in time across the ancient seas when the spirits walked, when the sun was new and the old gods held court. So, Miss Reeves, why don't you go first?
I think the dream that she has as she is like sucking up the blood and some does get in her mouth, that like flavor of iron kind of like running down her mouth. She has this dream of being in the court of one of those old gods, or kind of being, oh, what is the name for it? Like on a hunt with the old gods, and almost like Jim Fletcher's kind of like werewolf type creature, you know, like running through the forest, you know, attacking prey, which instead of like a deer or anything is probably like some eldritch dinosaur hybrid thing or whatever, and like feeling that blood kind of running down her mouth and feeling that the power and like back in the primordial earth time.
Nice. Doctor, what was your dream of the primordial earth?
Yeah, I believe the old gods, and it was a strange dream because we were all in it, but we were all our old god versions, right? So, and because this is Malik's mind, everyone has either too many arms or too many eyes, like, you know, the anatomy, you know, but that is a mark of the old gods. And I think the humans come, you know, waiting in a line, offering their faces for us to take, for us to wear. I won't go into any more detail, but it's horrifying, right? Like,
amazing.
Wow.
Jim Fletcher.
So the old gods we're in a scene at the top of a mountain in the northwest of what will become the United States, but is not yet. And we're looking east towards the rising sun at dawn. And the sun appears closer and larger than it does in the time we normally are. And the old gods in this case are raven and coyote and bear and salmon and eagle. And they're negotiating, they're holding court because bear has come with a complaint that salmon won't jump in his mouth and is looking for mediators, and the predators are siding with bear while the prey side with salmon, and it is unresolved when Jim wakes up.
Wow. All right. So you successfully siphon several large bags of blood from the ground. And we'll go to our second unseen prompt. So this one for Jim Fletcher specifically. A boisterous game of cards is played by some of the young bucks. Amidst the bluff and bluster, how do we see the differences between those with great wealth and noble blood and those with only one or the other?
We'll say we notice this with the accessories they wear. So either their rings, their pocket watches, their cufflinks, their all the various accessories. And for those with great wealth and noble blood, the pieces are timeless. They are well maintained. They are clearly worn, but in a beautiful way. The pocket watch has a beautiful patina on it, whereas those with great wealth and without noble blood, their accessories are brand new, still glossy, and those with noble blood but without great wealth have one unique piece and nothing else.
Fantastic. So Dr. Malik and Jim Fletcher, I'm not sure if you are continuing your walk around London or if you are back at Hargrave House, but I think it's probably time for you to start trying to answer a question. Does that sound right? And Joel, I invite you to be part of this discussion, even though, of course, Miss Reeves is not back yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do have to answer the first question first about whether the vampire is young or old, but it's only a difficulty 4, and you have plenty of clues to play with.
Yeah, it depends on how much of a bonus we want from me when we roll. But
Right.
Let's see. I feel like in my gut that the vampire is old. It's the way that it criticizes and right and the way it criticizes for excessive drinking and pipe smoking, but also the way that someone who was unkind to the elderly was attacked. So
like a self-hating old vampire.
I think, if I remember correctly, like the victim was mean to the elderly, right? So like,
That's right.
right,
Was
the vamp? Yeah. So was the vampire like, "How dare you, insolent child?" Right? That's my. Those are my how I would match those 3 clues. But what do you think?
Yeah, I sort of see this vampire as like a morality police. Like, I'm killing the drug addict, I'm killing the alcoholic, I'm killing the person who yelled at the elderly, as if these are all sort of equal.
Oh yeah, like as if they were from an ancient time where these things were equal.
If we wanted to add the Bible here, like maybe they ripped out the section on Noah so that they could look at it and keep it with them. And you have to clean things out in order to build anew with the flood.
Or because they remember the ark.
That could be too. Yeah, they're that old.
Yeah.
One of Noah's children is the vampire.
Exactly. And I think I also want to. Oh, you know what? You should go ahead, Joel. Sorry. I was getting excited.
No, you're good. I just thought it was funny that like the criticizing thing. I'm like, it's an old vampire. I'm trying to think. You guys got all the like. Oh, I'll say if he wanted to have like a positive modifier for the roll, maybe the piles of lilies around each of the bodies is like a very traditional funerary practice that isn't really performed anymore. Like you only really see it at grandparents' funerals, and even then it's kind of out of style.
I like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So that has you rolling at 2d6 plus 1. Are people happy with that for the theory, or do you want to try and incorporate another clue?
When we answer a question, a 7 to 9 is there's an unwelcome complication to the answer.
Yeah, or pursuing the opportunity will be more dangerous.
Right.
You can increase your results with the Janus mask, but you all have to mark a Janus mask for that to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm okay with rolling it a +1.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with the other clues.
I mean, there is one.
Sure.
There's one other one, and then I have a question. So let me do the mechanic question first.
Mhm.
There's a line in the answer to the question of if you explain it away. So if we say like this clue is not relevant,
Yeah.
we get a bonus from it. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you explain, like you need to explain why it's not relevant, like what
Yeah.
it actually meant or how it got mixed up in this.
Yeah. So I could say that the dried bloodstains on the sheet beneath the corpses have nothing to do with this because the opium den, like sometimes people overdose and get sick, and these are old bloodstains. They couldn't clean the sheets, and they just put
Right.
people, and they're like dead bodies. Put them on the dirty sheets. It's fine.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
2d6 plus 2 is pretty good odds. Are people ready to roll?
Yeah.
Ready?
Who's going to roll this one?
I can.
Great.
9.
9.
Good.
So an old vampire is correct, but there'll be an unwelcome complication to the answer, or pursuing the opportunity will be more dangerous. Do you all want to put on a Janus mask to just bring that up to correct and an opportunity can be pursued? Or are you happy with complication or more dangerous?
What do you all think? I'm okay with complication, more dangerous, but
I am too, and my playbook is very aggressive on mask use, so
yeah. That's what I was thinking.
because I can just die if I run out of masks.
Exactly. Yeah. I was reading that and I was like, wow, this like playbook is like super hard to keep in play. But yeah.
Which is fine, but I'm inclined
Yeah.
I'm happy to deal with a complicated vampire.
All right. Okay, so I'm just making a note that there is a complication, but it's an older vampire. So Miss Reeves, mixing up my famous servants. You start to leave the alley with your bags of blood. But you notice as you reach the mouth of the alley that there is a policeman on patrol nearby, right in the direction that you want to head. What do you do?
I think Miss Reeves pretty much like backs off and goes down another alley, and maybe if there's like a cricket game going on at night, maybe going to that game to try and like get lost in the crowd to like bring back the unseen prompt.
Nice.
Like maybe it goes down an alleyway and there's like a group of people walking to the cricket game with like drinks and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Reeves kind of like throws her scarf over her bag that she has the what do you call it? The bladder of blood in, and just kind of like tries to blend in with the crowd and walk with them.
All right. So I want to say they're on their way home. Like, I think it's quite late. The cricket game's just finished up. Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I think that once again you'll just need to make the night move to successfully, lose yourself, navigate home. What are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve?
I think less of the getting caught by the police officer and more she'll lose the blood. Like there will be a chase with a police officer and she'll have to drop the bag to get away.
Yes, and how is it worse than you fear? The blood is not merely the inert dead contents of someone's veins. The blood has its own properties, its own its own kind of magic to it, and something worse than just like losing the blood would happen. So go ahead and roll with an appropriate ability. What ability do you think for this one?
I was thinking maybe composure to try and like not look suspicious as she is walking along with this group of people.
Sure.
Okay. That is a 10.
Nice. All right. So you successfully navigate your way home. And we'll go to our next unseen prompt, which is two older gentlemen, Sir Mortimer Holland and Colonel Bulstrode, grumble about the lax morals and deficient work ethic of the younger generation. What complaints do they make, and how do we see the envy for their youth? Miss Reeves, I'd love you to answer this one.
I think they complain about like how hedonistic, these young hooligans are, and kind of complain about like how they give in to drinking too much, as like these two old people, are both having a glass of scotch and it's not their first one. And they complain about how they give in to, drugs, pretty much like all of the vices that the victims had. And I think the other one of them was a prostitute, right?
Sex worker, yeah.
Sex worker. Thank you. And so they complain about like, illicit morals and stuff like that, as both of them have like taken off their rings for the evening. Just, kind of very hypocritical stuff like that. And they're just complaining and complaining. And they say, not like our day. When we were younger, we read our Bible. And one of them has like a pocket watch with like a whale on it, or maybe like aquatic motifs like waves on it. We read the Bible, we went to church, like we were good moral people, and we still are. They're just kind of like harumpling back and forth to each other.
Nice. Dr. Malik and Jim Fletcher, well, maybe we'll just frame a scene where you're all back together now. Does that sound good? You've all arrived back at Hargrave House. You explained to Ms. Reeves that do Ms. Reeves and Dr. Malik need a scene together first to dispense with the blood, or can we just assume that that's deposited down in the laboratory?
I think actually there's a moment where Malik is like, Miss Reeves, he wants to say, I was worried about you, but instead he says, I have noted your absence.
Just so Jim does not leave at this moment.
Yeah, so I think like Miss Reeves is kind of like awkwardly like shifts the bag to be behind her and tries and hide it from Jim, and says, I'm terribly sorry about that, Dr. Al-Kabir. I hope my presence wasn't needed. Everything was okay?
Well, of course I wouldn't go so far as to say that you were needed, but certainly you were missed. Please, I implore you to inform me next time that you would leave. Not that you need my permission. And that's the best he can say, like, please don't worry me next time, and then I think he finally like notices the blood, right? And I think he sees like a little bit of the like blood here in the corner of your lip. And Malik reaches over and like brushes it off, but pretends like he's trying to hide it from Jim, right? Pretends like was going for your hair instead. I see, however, that you must attend to something important.
So you also notice before Miss Reeves gets to leave, there are other servants at Hargrave House, right? Like there's cooking and housekeeping and things like that. One of the servants has arrived in the doorway and sort of, clears their throat to get your attention, Dr. Malik. And you see that she's holding something. Do you want to give the housekeeper a name?
Ooh, yeah. Let's say Gloria.
So Gloria is holding out towards you a gift box tied with sapphire blue ribbon. And she says, this was left for you, Doctor.
A gift. Most strange. And Malik is like thinking, I don't have friends who give me gifts. So. Very well. And I think in a strange show of openness, Malik just opens the gift in front of everyone.
All right. So you notice too late the smell of blood and that it is a fresh heart inside the gift box. This is the mastermind clue that I owe to you from earlier. But what do you do when you see the heart? Have you opened it so openly that everyone sees that it's a heart?
Oh, yeah. I think there's this harrowing moment, right, where everyone sees it. And I think Malik, without missing a beat, there's a heart and a beat. Anyway, I think Malik, for the sake of everyone else, will pretend he was expecting it. Yes, of course. I wouldn't normally ask for components of an experiment to be sent in such a fashion. I will have to talk to the men back at the university, if you'll excuse me.
And Miss Reeves, you probably are the first to notice that Gloria is bleeding from the nose. She's developed quite a blood nose.
I think Reeves will kind of like she probably knows Gloria pretty well, so she'll pull out like a handkerchief and hand it to her, and kind of like help her sit down and say, Dr. El-Kabir, this might be an area of expertise you might be able to help with. Would you like me to properly take care of your science experiment?
Of course, Miss Reeves. Very astute of you. And I hand it over, and I hover over Gloria. Gloria, what symptoms are these? What happened?
So, Miss Reeves, I just want to be clear, Miss Reeves, you're leaving the room?
Yeah, I probably I'm guessing Reeves wants to get rid of the giant bag of blood that's sloshing around. And
sure.
She'll take the heart with her down to where Malik, keeps all the body parts.
All right. Jim Fletcher, are you just watching all this go on, or what are you doing?
I think once things seem to be handled, we'll go ahead and just kind of retire to another part of the house. And yeah, I guess I can't do that part till the dawn move. So I don't know what else right now.
All right. So as Jim leaves the room after Ms. Reeves, Dr. Malik, Gloria is unable to speak. Her head shakes oddly, spasms, almost as if her head is swelling suddenly. And then the ancient vampire in the body of a small child bursts out through the blood streaming from her nose and attacks you. And we'll just cut there to our last unseen prompt and then come back and see what happens. So this will be a prompt for you, Dr. Malik.
Of course, very appropriate.
Francis Ackerman has recently returned from the subcontinent. As he retires to the bedroom he has taken at the club, how do we see him drop his stern facade and express his vulnerability?
I think he very slowly and methodically removes each article of clothing, right? It's almost military-like, the precision in how they do so. And there's a moment where we see Ackerman in front of a mirror, and there are all these strange tattoos all over the body, right? And they're all in places that would be hidden, that would be hard to find. And they're all like, yeah, I think they're all like messages. Like he reads them out loud, looking at the mirror, and he says, "I won't forget any of your names."
Nice. So, Doctor, you are lightly sprayed with blood, not too much under the circumstances. And the ancient vampire in the body of the small child says, "Dr. Alcabir, I understand you have been asking about me, and I thought it was time that I made your acquaintance."
Yes, I apologize. But Malik's voice is shaking, okay? So just putting on a brave face. I want to stress that. Malik says, I apologize for making you wait. If I had known that you wanted to speak, I would have made myself more available. I say as I look towards what remains of Gloria.
Do you think that you need to make the night move here, which one of the triggers is when you face something you fear? Or are we not there yet?
I think for Malik in particular, he's used to blood and guts, so we're not there yet.
Okay.
But there's like tension drawn with the violin strings. We're getting there. So,
and he says that he understands that you are interested in life beyond death in the way that the veil of death might be drawn back. That is something he can show to you. You don't seem... Well, what am I trying to say? You seem comfortable with blood, with the body. I would only need to feed on you a few times, and all the secrets that you have long investigated would be revealed to you.
This is the worst temptation. For my child. And I think when they say that, like Malik sort of places a hand against their neck. Feed, I see. And what makes me worthy to have these secrets shared with me? Why me and not someone else? You obviously know what I want, but I'm not sure I know what you want. There's nothing special about my blood, I assure you.
What on earth makes you think it would only be you? Soon I will have children of my own all over London. You can be one of them, or well, I suppose if you must, you can fall.
I see. A whole swarm of you. An entire hive of hungry things. I'm afraid, as tempting as an offer this is, and I must stress the temptation is great, I will unfortunately have to decline.
So with that, the vampire launches itself at you. And Ms. Reeves and Jim Fletcher, you hear this crash from wherever you are in Hargrave House, if you want to head back towards this scene. But Dr. Malik, I mean, mechanically, just to be clear, you're unable to defeat the vampire at this point because you haven't opened up that opportunity. So what you're looking for here is to escape, drive it out, something like that. But Doctor, what will you do?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to desperately try to, with my knowledge of how bodies work, because as strong and as immortal as this creature is, it's still attached to a body of flesh, and I know bodies very well. So I'm just trying to dig my hand in towards the throat or the heart, something that would just give it pause enough for me to get out of the way, right? Nothing more than that.
So this is going to be the night move. What are you afraid will happen if you fail?
I'm afraid that if I don't deal with this soon enough, I'm going to get Miss Reeves in danger, because I know she's going to rush in, and I don't want her to have to deal with this right now until we can figure out a way to handle the vampire.
Okay. And how is it worse than you fear? It's worse than you fear because, I mean, what it says is true. If you don't deal with it soon, it will spread its taint all over London. It's ready to start recruiting. So go ahead, roll the night move. Maybe vitality, maybe composure.
It feels like vitality. It feels like, ooh, let's see which one. I'm thinking, I think maybe composure, because I'm trying to find that opening and not freak out, right? And not give in to the fear that's clutching at my throat. Okay, so I'm gonna roll. Okay, so 10.
Nice. So, Jim, you get back to the door to the map room just in time to see Dr. Malik repel this child-sized vampire. It's clear that's what it is. What do you do?
Perfect. So there's a little bit of physical separation now.
A little bit.
Yeah. I am going to, with all of my feral strength and quickness, charge directly at the vampire and try to essentially throw it through one of our windows.
Okay.
Just straight at, like a tackle and throw kind of situation.
Yeah. Go ahead. So rolling vitality with advantage for the night move. Yeah. Oh, sorry. What are you afraid will happen if you fail?
I am afraid that the vampire will bite me while I'm grappled with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's worse than you fear because of the complicated way the vampiric taint will interact with the curse that you already carry.
Fantastic. Going for it. Vitality, and I'm at advantage because of my curse. Oh, geez.
Ooh. Good thing you got the advantage.
So that's an 8.
An 8. So what do you get for an 8 on the night move? You do it or hold steady, but there is a complication or cost. The keeper describes what it looks like. So indeed, you do it. You throw this child-sized vampire clear through the window. It crashes outside. It turns back, hissing and leering through the window. The complication is that Miss Reeves has started rushing back after hearing this crash as well. And the blood in the bag has started to move, started to lift up, rise up. The bladder is shifting its shape. Ms. Reeves, you notice this just as you also arrive in the door of the map room. What do you do?
Oh God. I think Miss Reeves, is there a fireplace in the map room?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think Miss Reeves rushes in and kind of grabs Malik by the back and pulls him behind her to protect Dr. Malik, and kind of stands in front, and that's when the bladder starts to rise and float in front of her, and she kind of sees that and freaks out a little bit and grabs it and will throw it into the fireplace to try and burn it.
All right. Well, let's have you make the night move as well.
Okay.
What are you afraid will happen if you fail?
Whatever weird unnatural blood this is will get on Dr. Malik and Jim Fletcher.
Okay. And it's worse than you fear because the blood will not stop with the two of them. But go ahead and roll.
Okay.
I mean, probably composure again, vitality if you want.
Okay.
Jill, do you want a thought?
Yeah.
Is there some way your chemical cleaning products can help with this blood?
Oh, that is perfect.
Awesome. Good one.
Yeah, I think, which I will do. I feel like composure makes a little bit more sense with that, and maybe the fireplace is currently out, So Miss Reeves just like throws it into the fireplace, and then some of the cleaning supplies was like left in this room because this is where she was last cleaning, and she grabs like a big jug with like warning labels taped all over it in Miss Reeves' own handwriting, and just like starts shaking it onto the bag of blood.
All right. Go ahead and roll that night move.
So that is
It's a
10.
All right. So the blood sort of visibly convulses as the chemicals fall on it. It rises briefly into a kind of spiral shape above the cold fireplace before sort of melting down in this caustic goo that you've thrown all over it. And the vampire child, the elder vampire child looking in through the window, hisses at you all to enjoy the sunrise because it will surely be your last. And that's where we'll finish our game for today. Well, except that I would love to do a round of stars and wishes. We're pretty close to one. If anyone needs to leave, that's fine. But otherwise, yeah, let's have a quick round of stars and wishes. Can I ask Gabe, do you want to go first?
Sure. I feel like we got to do a lot today. It's sort of like the second session too, but it's just, I mean, it's feeling more comfortable. I feel like I got to use more pieces of the playbook in a single session. So I got to do some of the physical stuff that the American is good at. I got to be sort of loud and obnoxious, which I'm also good at. I've kind of it felt like a full session that way, which is great. I was hoping actually to have some interactions with our vessel. So I think that's my wish, is like I want to. Blake left a nice piece in the epilogue with the kiss between Jim and Helena, and I want to see more of that.
Cool. Yeah, that's great.
I rewatched the epilogues because I couldn't remember.
Oh, that's so good. I should really do that. Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, stars, pretty much like Gabe said, like it felt like, I mean, the last two sessions were a ton of fun, but it felt like we were able to kind of like do more of this session and use kind of more aspects of the playbook, and use some like different moves. And I just loved, we've had a few sessions with these people and kind of had an epilogue, and now it's like the second season of the TV show. So you kind of have a more clear idea of the characters in your head. And I thought everyone played them really well. So it was a ton of fun seeing, people interacting with each other and just kind of doing stuff that's very like, that's such a Jim Fletcher thing to do with like the story and such a Dr. Al Kabir thing to do. So I thought that was a ton of fun, and just, getting to play more between is always fun. As far as wishes, I don't know. I think just playing more of the game, I think. Like, I like advancements in games. So, like, I like getting this one, and now I'm already trying to think of, like, what do I have to do to hit those XP triggers to get the other one? Like, I want another hit of that. So I'm looking forward to, like, playing more and getting another advancement.
Sweet. And Jamie?
Yeah, oh my gosh, so many stars. It was so good to be back, and I'm so glad we're having more sessions after this. I feel absolutely spoiled. I think really big star Shane for tempting me so much this session. It was so between the stranger with the mask and this vampire is going to give me secrets. It's so good. It was very, very good. And also big star to Miss Reeves for being so proactive. I was very touched, even though the blood ended up we had to throw it into the fire, but I appreciate the thought. And I'm really glad I got to spend more time with Jim. I really like the differences between the two characters. I think it's really fun to play into. But yeah, this was super, super, super fun, Shane. Like, I loved all the complications. They were really great.
Thanks. Do you have a wish?
I wish I could take the heart that was given to me as a gift and put it into my child. I was thinking about that.
Oh, you can. I think you can.
It's a terrible idea, which is why I wanted to do it. This mysterious, freshly. I was like, obviously, it's a gift for me. Obviously, not a bad thing at all. But aside from that, yeah, I'd actually like to spend more time with Miss Reeves again next session. I really like that vulnerable moment we had in the last series. So I'd like to try for that again. But yeah, that's about it. I'm just looking forward to playing more like everybody else.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks everyone. I had a great time today. I love all of your characters. They're so entertaining to watch and GM for. Yeah, I also felt similarly to all of you saying like you felt like you got more of your playbook in. I'm getting more of the threats in. Like I'm figuring out how to make all the parts of them work, and that was really satisfying and fun for me today as well. All right, I'm gonna end the recording. Bear with me for 1 sec.